What's happening, gamers? It's me, your man, Gamer Guy 407, coming at you with another episode of Minecraft Hunger Games. Just kidding. Welcome to the first of our Kieran Teacher series on the It's Not Always Dark podcast. Today, I am joined by my lovely co-host, Erin, who is not a gamer gal. I would say maybe the furthest from a gamer gal out of many of the gals I know.
Couldn't be further. Like, I got really motion sick the last time I played a game, so
I need off the ride. Please stop.
It's too much. It's too much.
So my goal today is really to just introduce you to everything that I have in my brain about gaming, and maybe this is it'll be like a whole new world. It'll be like one of those moments for you.
Yeah, the start of something new.
This could be the start of something new, and it does feel so right to be here with you. Oh,
no.
Looking in your eyes.
I feel in my heart the start of something new.
So when deciding on what to discuss first to try and teach Erin about video games, I decided to break down this episode into a bunch of different topics that I think kind of represent the grand scheme of what it is that I know and want to teach. So starting off today, we'll be going into games I played growing up, and I'm sure there'll be some for you too.
Yeah, I actually have some then.
I love that. So to start with, for me, when it comes to gaming, I started playing games, I think on my Game Boy Advance.
Me
Why
too.
isn't that Game Boy, girl? To start with, I played on Game Boy, and the first game I think I can recall playing on the Game Boy was Sonic Advance, which is very much like a Sonic game. You play different characters on like a side scroller. So side scroller games, they are any type of game where you start from like the left of the screen and you're just continuously going right, and like that's the only angle that you're really shown.
Can do that.
I like to try and compare. I'd say from the get-go, the reason I think video games make sense and work with me is because they're very similar to how you do film. It's just you're picking an angle to show the audience and you're going with it for however long. That's why when games start to get more complex, like we'll talk for upcoming games that I play like these days, there's like a shift between like what was available technology-wise and like idea-wise then to what's available now. Sonic Advance was so fun, but I never managed. There was like two characters in the game, the two girl characters that I always wanted to play as. One of them was called Amy the Hedgehog. She's like this pink hedgehog that like loves Sonic. She has a mallet. She's so fun. And then Cream the Rabbit. She's like a little tiny rabbit that can fly with her ears. Always wanted those two. Never got past the level with Knuckles, who was like a red hedgehog with like sharp knuckles.
I played Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games. Like, I know these characters. Yeah.
Oh, okay, I was giving a bit too much context for you there.
No, I didn't know like their names specifically, but like if you'd said like Pink Hedgehog, I would have been able to visualize.
Never got to play her. Will maybe at some point in my life buy a Game Boy just so I can get to play her, because I think maybe now I
have one
could
here
do it.
somewhere actually with some select games. Yeah.
So yeah, I moved on to I only played the PlayStation consoles. I never really played Xbox unless I was at someone else's house.
PS2 is what we had.
PS2, she was the one. And like for that, I used to play. This could be PlayStation 2 or PlayStation 3, but I want to commit and say it was PlayStation 2. It was the first time I started playing multiplayer games. So I started with a game called Little Big Planet, which was this like creative type world where you could go in as a little sack boy, is what they were called. They were like little characters that you could dress up from unlockable content in the game, and like people would really go in. Like you would use stickers to like give contour and stuff, like back in the day, like what you could do to make it look more of a person. It was fun. I never quite did the level design part because I'm not like, that's not how my brain goes. I was there to look cute and have fun.
I mean, that's all any of us are really trying to do.
By.
Yeah.
Yeah, I live by that. As I started growing up, that's when I got like my I'd say maybe the references in my life that have stuck with me more. So Tomb Raider was a huge thing for me growing up. Lara Croft, what an icon. The way that she would just cartwheel and flip around and stuff in game while you were moving, it gave the full fantasy of like a woman who is flexible, agile. She can do everything. She's gonna win the game because no one is on her level physically. Like you would cartwheel for the whole game. I'm not making that up. You could literally just keep cartwheeling.
But then just like being a kid. I feel like that would have
Yeah.
felt completely possible to me as a kid. Like,
Oh
yeah, of
yeah.
course I could
I
cartwheel everywhere.
loved cartwheeling when I was younger. These days, I'm a little scared to try again, but I think I could still do it. I would just need a bit of stretching
These days, I'm like,
beforehand.
I don't know if my wrists could withstand.
Withstand the weight. I've done it before. Like I did it maybe a couple years ago, and I remember the wrists they were feeling something.
Yeah, I feel like I would need like braces for my arms.
Then I moved into a game called Saints Row 2. That was like so this is very much in the grand scheme of like the Grand Theft Autos of the world, like crime, grittiness, gang wars. Saints Row 2 was so fun to me because it took place in like a city where you're basically in a gang that you're trying to like build up from the ground. And in order to do so, you have to start like going after rival gangs. You have to get like drugs and shit.
I really
It
don't
was
see this for
maybe
you. Like, I don't see
I
this in your life.
do. This was so fun. No, I can't explain it to you, Erin. This game was so fun because you would just drive around. You could like hit people with a car.
Why are
There's
you
a
so
lot of
excited
them
about that? You're like,
because
you can hit
look,
people
there's
with
a lot.
cars?
Because it's non-consequential. Like it didn't affect the outcome of the game. I think these days I definitely wouldn't play this way. But when you're young, you just want to like cause chaos, and I was quite a chaotic child, very chaotic, like neutral. I went for it a little bit, and I think games are. I think there's like a common misassociation that's made between video game violence and like that inspiring real life violence. But I
Oh,
feel
yeah.
like I did something. I did a paper in uni, I think, on the effects of video games, and they did like a study where they had two sets of people play different games, one of which was like violent and the others were non-violent. And the end outcome was very similar for both. You didn't really experience any like major spikes in violence or need to be violent.
Hmm.
It's just like it's a way of viewing and partaking in a game, which if we move on to the next topic of the games that I play currently, I like a game that I play quite a lot is called Apex Legends, which is very much like a first person shoot 'em. So if you've ever like had a classic association of what a game is and thought about the guys that are like playing first person perspective of holding a gun and firing at other people, that's the game that I like to play the most.
That's like
But
what makes me feel sick. That's how I got motion
oh,
sick.
I see, I see. So for me, the thing that I enjoy about Apex is that Apex Legends is one of these games that combines that sort of gameplay but with a bit of a story. And all the characters have like different abilities and stuff that they can do. And I always find it very fun to just take different ideas, go at it. Like if you're in a group with three people, completely different from the other team that have three people. It's always interesting to see which ability will help you more in this like shoot 'em up game. I would like to say I am not a violent person. I just happen to partake in games that include violence. Um, I like Dead by Daylight, which is very much like a an ode to horror. It's a horror game, but I wouldn't say it's scary. I think it depends on what your intake for scariness is, though. You play as like one of four survivors, or you play as one killer, and your goal as survivors, you have like an objective to activate generators within a map to escape the map and the killer, but the killer will be constantly pursuing you while you try and do said generators. So it's like a hide and seek type thing. That's what I like to say it is.
That's like, I like the idea of being chased is like my worst fear.
It gets
Like,
the adrenaline going.
yeah, I feel like that's like what all my like recurring nightmares are, me being chased.
Maybe this like whole Kieran Teaches episode is just me like confirming that you are terrified of games.
I really just like no, like a little like 2D moment is
Yeah,
fine for
cute
me.
moment.
Like I'm a very like Nintendo basic
Hmm.
wench kind of
I feel that.
gal.
I feel that. I mean, I didn't mention it, but like Nintendogs were a big thing for me growing up as well. Like I loved the ability to because I don't think we had a pet at the time, so this was as close as it got to having a pet, and I really like committed to it the same way I did with like a Tamagotchi. You know,
Oh, I couldn't work out
I
how
felt
to work the
responsible.
Tamagotchi. It really like do you know what? I think this is saying more about
Couldn't do
my
it.
technological ability. Like I couldn't work out the buttons on a Tamagotchi. It really, set up how I was gonna deal with technology for the rest of my life. Like,
I feel that.
yeah, me being unable to turn on the Mac on my first day of uni versus me not being able to use the buttons on the Tamagotchi. Same energy.
Same energy. I would say other games that I play that these days aren't violent. I like Pokemon. Just as a series, it's quite fun and easy to play. You're collecting a bunch of like cute animals that they do fight, but at no point does it feel like it's a scary thing because you just have each other standing side by side, and one of them will like shoot a bubble at each other, and you'll be like, "Oh no, damage!" But really, it's still cute. It keeps it in that like PG realm because Nintendo and Pokemon especially, they're very like I'd say they've been actively holding childhoods for like a good couple of decades at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the 1990s. So that's like at least like kind of 2 going on 3 decades now. Good for them. Good for
Go
them.
you.
And then another one that I like to play is called Stardew Valley, and that is very. I feel like you would like Stardew Valley because it's literally just a game where you are on a farm and you go out to meet the village people, come back and like you make your farm in it, and like make your house and everything. It's very Minecraft-esque, but
Can you
with
win? Is
a
there like
2D approach.
objectives?
Kind of. I mean, it's the objectives that you want to do for yourself to like make a nice farm and
See, this is
you
another.
know.
This is like why I didn't do Sims when that was like.
I find Sims boring. I love the customization, and then afterwards, it's not for me.
Like Gal is in it to win it, you know?
Yeah, you want an objective, an easy like I started and I won.
Yeah.
That's probably why I go for the more violent A type games because I wouldn't even classify them as violent. There's not like gore or blood or anything that's making it look crazy. It's just you know, you shoot someone, they fall down, and then they might get back up. But you can be first place in that game. Like that's one of those games where you can be the winning squad. So I do like winning. I'm fond of winning. So like I would say overall for the what gaming means to me, gaming is just like it's a hobby. It's something to fill the time sometimes. It's quite social. I find that I've met like far more people from just around the world than I ever would have otherwise
Yeah.
because you kind of you start adapting to different sleeping schedules and whatnot too. I'm quite bad for it. Like I will stay up because there'll be people that I like to play with that are a couple hours behind us in our time zone. But I'll be like, I'm having fun. I'm just gonna stay up anyway because this is what I would do for a night out, which is not possible right now. I was actually just mentioning to Erin before we started recording that my flatmate, she recently got new lighting in her room. And she showed me it last night, and it was the closest that I've ever felt to being in a club setting since like lockdown began. And I miss a club.
We
I
miss a
miss walking
club.
around inside of a club, like a little faded, just trying to figure out what's going on. Anyway, what games mean to me? They're socializing, you know, as ways to be an introvert but still be social because you're doing like a fun activity that gives like satisfaction and gratification from like winning. That's like a really great boost to my day. I know it
Yeah.
shouldn't like have a like large effect, and I wouldn't say it does, but if I win at something, I'm like, oh, go me, go me, go
Yeah.
me, and it's very nice. And then video games have just been something I've always played growing up because I was quite a an introverted child. I like to find things to do that kept me occupied that way. And like something that'll like segue me into the next part of my teaches gaming started out being very like so 8-bit in the sense that it was like digitalized and only like a few graphics would show up because that's what they were able to program. But as time's gone on, games have really transformed themselves into like cinematic experiences.
Yeah.
There's like many games that I've seen that like I know they've had a cinematographer come in to like create these shots that were going to then be shown in the game. For example, like Uncharted is one of those games that by the time they released their last one, they could possibly just take the entirety of that game and shove that in like a storyboard. That would be a film, feature length film, you
Yeah.
know? Like I think there's a lot that has to be said between the link between the two that I think has spoken to me as someone who obviously gravitated toward digital media. And this is another form of digital media that I think takes up like a good chunk of my life. But I like that nowadays in gaming, it's like not only is there like various consoles that have like exclusive releases and stuff, but you have different genres of what games are. So you can play like a horror game, you can play an action game, you can play like an adventure game. It's the same process of picking out a book or a film. It's just what you're willing to dedicate time to try and beat, which
Yeah.
I think it's great. I love variety. I love option. I love being able to choose new things. Moving on from that, I would say we have the moneymaker section. So, when it comes to moneymakers, when I speak about this, I mean the way in which video gaming, I think, has got one of the highest revenues out of like most industries. I'd argue that they're possibly making more than. Okay, I'm not gonna say television or film because I think that would be a bit much. But I'd say they're very like close behind in the sense that when you get games, there's different things that you can spend your money on. First, of course, you have to like buy a console, so that already costs like a good amount. You have to buy like attachments. So like I'm currently wearing a headset right now that's for like a console.
Hmm.
You can buy like obviously the games themselves, and then within games you have more purchases that they can make money from.
Yeah.
I have been known to be a bit of a cosmetic item purchaser, which is like the items that are quite literally just changing a cosmetic in the game.
Hmm.
Like, so a skin. I love a skin. If someone's gonna create like a piece of digital art and I get to purchase that to like parade around in, you bet your ass I'm doing it.
Love that.
I think it's so
No,
fun.
I like noticed personally as someone who like isn't part of like the whole gaming thing. Like
Hmm.
obviously in the last couple of weeks we've had the release of the PS5.
Yeah,
And that's something that like I know about as someone who isn't in that world at all. And it's
not in the
like
world.
it's advertised everywhere.
Hmm.
Like they've got like a Greg's meal deal.
Work.
Like
Didn't know that. I know they had some deals going on with it, but
there's just it's everywhere. I can't get away from it. It's
you've been trying.
I'm like move, move, move right out of my life.
You're like running away, but gaming is saying, "No, girl, we're coming back with a vengeance."
I'm like, honey, I wouldn't even know where the on button is.
You wouldn't know.
I wouldn't. No,
um.
like, but I know I'm going back to like your whole like people spending money on it. Like,
Hmm.
people like be investing in
Hmm.
like whole setups with
Yeah.
like swanky colored lighting,
Oh, I've
keyboards,
had
and
that. Yeah.
mices and
Amazing.
chairs.
But yeah, I think it is one of those things that if you want the full experience, like for playing a game, you kind of have to go all out and like really let yourself feel the
Yeah,
moment.
it
I know
looks really cool.
a lot of people use VR, which I think I've only used it a couple times. I don't
That
actually have the VR myself, but I've played it before, and that's like sort of VR
the
headset. It's like
headset, yeah,
it's like the 360 type. You can turn everywhere and there'll be something for you to look at
yeah.
because it's being projected through the headset. They're very intense. I did one where it's like you're in like a shark cage going down. Didn't like it. Felt uncomfortable.
Yeah, I feel like I would want like a VR happy place.
Oh
Like
yes.
that would
A VR
be
sweet spot.
mhm.
There's some that I played. I played a different one as well that's like a little mini game with the VR, but I would have rather just played that on without VR. I feel like they're still trying to find a way to make VR quite viable and fun without being scary or motion sickness like because the other one that I played was like a horror game and that was not nice. You are the
No.
person walking through the house about to get like attacked by a zombie type thing. Not into it. Scares me. I don't want to be in that scenario. Why would I put myself there?
Yeah, I mean I get that it's 100% the point and some people
Hmm.
would love that, but
Well,
this
some people
this
do.
gal isn't going to a haunted house anytime soon.
You
I
can't
mean, well,
catch
she's
me
not going
there.
anywhere anytime soon, but like
She's not leaving the house.
she's not leaving the house, but definitely not to go to a horror farm thing.
No, I wouldn't want to do that myself. Yeah, I'd say overall, like, there's just a lot of money being made in video gaming that there's able to be like so many big companies that produce games that are still thriving, especially even during a pandemic because people
There's so
have so
many
much time
jobs in it.
indoors. Oh yeah, like you will always find a new job because there's people that need to run their social media accounts, there's people that need to run the YouTube pages, there's people that need to run the actual workings of the game and maintaining that. There was a big thing that we noticed as players over the pandemic is that to start with, like this like constant influx of content was like drying up a little bit while they
Mhm.
were able to adapt. And thankfully, I think the thing that makes video gaming quite a viable option is that I'd say it's maybe the only industry that didn't feel like an immediate halt on itself in terms of entertainment because a lot of it's already done from home and it's a lot of different people working toward a collective goal to create this online content or offline content, you know?
Yeah, and
That's one of the things about working on computers.
yeah, what I've seen like recently, because obviously like for actors,
Hmm.
work is kind of rough right now, and
Yeah.
you can't really be in the same space as another actor, but people are finding
Nope.
work doing like motion capture
Yeah.
and stuff,
Motion capture, voice
voice
acting.
acting,
Yeah,
like
there's a lot of different avenues. I think it's incredible that even even now they're still able to create content, and I think for me it's I'm always invested in the things that I think can offer the most to me. And that's
Mhm.
why in my life I spend so much time with media because media is constantly offering new interesting takes from different people. And so is music, you know, like
Yeah.
music being part of media, of course, but then as its own people have had so much time alone that they're able to process and create new content from this like lockdown period as
Oh,
well.
you're telling me.
I am telling you, like, you're not the person to speak to on it. Like, you have so much stuff that you've been working on over lockdown, and I think it's kind of incredible to hear about all the stuff that you've been up to. Because she's a busy bee.
She very good at coming
Buzz
up with
buzz.
ideas. Executing them is a skill in development.
You know
But
what?
that's
Everyone's doing that though.
yeah.
I'd always like to point out that the people that seem to be like thriving the most always seem to have like a large team behind them too. Like there's always people working in collaboration. So I would never
Yeah.
say it's the execution on your part. I'd say it's like, you know, you're working on it and you're doing what you can do. And I think we're working on executing this right now.
Yeah, we're
It's
here.
just something we're working at. Little bits at a time. Keeping it cute, keeping it fresh. Next up, we're gonna go into gamer cultures.
I have so many questions about this.
I'm excited about this one because I feel like there'll be a lot I can maybe provide insight for. Maybe, do you know what? I'm gonna take your questions first because I think it might be interesting to see if I can add to it afterward if I answer the questions first.
yeah, so this is like coming from me as an
Hmm.
outside gal.
Outsider,
Um I like
not out.
foresee like different avenues of gaming culture,
Yeah,
and for me like gamer YouTube is a thing, is a big
yeah,
thing.
big thing.
And then so like there's people like that make the YouTube videos of them playing the games, and
Hmm. And they become their own like social media stars
yeah,
through
and
it.
it's like a whole genre, and people are millionaires, and
Yeah, look at like PewDiePie. He's like a very well known one. Like KSI, he's
Mhm.
another. I think he does FIFA.
like
I'm not interested in sports games. You can't make me.
I don't
Sports
like it.
won't touch it. I will not touch it. Not for me.
But then like
Nice try.
something that like I have found out about, this is like me showing my like I'm not very down with the kids, but like people be using Twitch, people be streaming themselves and making
Yeah,
money through
Monty.
like just being paid to sit and play video games and be entertaining while doing so.
Yes,
That's so cool. Like,
it is
what a job.
incredible. It really is. I think so. To start with, I'll say that the YouTubers is definitely just a case of I think a lot of people find success by, you know, cultivating a bit of an audience with one game in particular that everyone wants to watch. I think
Yeah.
streamers and YouTube players, they have this great thing that you're not trying to necessarily come up with something brand new. You're just trying to experience something in a way that is enjoyable to everyone watching. So really, it's like your gameplay, you're optimizing the most out of the game, but then the most out of your personality and your ability to host and like stay present. I think it's
Yeah.
incredible because I struggle to talk. Like if I'm on like a headset speaking with my friends while we play a game, I will like go quiet to focus. The thought of being constantly on and narrating everything, and then also like this the whole streaming thing for me, that's where it becomes like a lot because you like are in real time keeping up with people that are posting in your comment section and like thanking people for subscribing, thanking them for donations. Like you're doing the most. It's a lot of hosting.
Yeah. Like, it's so. Is it essentially like almost the same thing in terms of like they're narrating whilst they're playing what they're playing?
Hmm.
Or
I'd say
like,
it's also just like reactions too. Like it's a lot of cultivating. like it's reaction culture on YouTube, which there's been like a huge upsurge in people just reacting to popular videos online and getting a lot of views from that and
Hmm.
being like well known in that regard. Then you have people that are, it's not just that, but it's also playing a game and you're the one controlling the scenario. So it's there's just a lot going into it that
So much.
like there's so many things that add up to where gaming is right now in terms of entertainment that I would say it's its own phenomenon and I think it's cool. So recently, I was watching gameplay on a channel with Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and she is like very popular amongst the youth, especially in America, because
The
she
youth.
is, well, I mean, I'm saying it how it is. Like she's very much representing the most people I think I've seen just anyone in Congress do. She
Mm.
goes in there constantly, and
Wait, so
she's
like
in there
actual
just
congresswomen?
she's an actual congresswoman, but
Sick.
she understands the power of digital media and
Hmm.
she's getting involved in the gaming side of it. In her episode, she played a game called Among Us, which is just like I think it's like maybe an 8 player game where there's like two imposters that are just trying to kill these people on a ship. And then the rest of them are just regular people going about doing mundane tasks. And it's very like a side scroller type thing. It's not like a complicated digital arc. It's just you move around a ship.
That's the one that's like the
But
little blobs with the
yeah, it's
grey
just the little
Mike
faces.
Wazowski eye. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's where the memes for like, oh, that you're being sus have come from because, suspicious in that game is the only way to like you just go, oh sus, you were being sus. But I think that she's incredibly smart because she's utilizing a platform that is not only for young people that love gaming and whatnot and are getting involved in that way,
Mhm.
but she's like it's the first case I think I've seen of someone actually approach a younger generation and be like, look, I'm standing for what you want. I know that this is what everyone wants because I'm speaking from a fair point of view and I want the most for everyone. And I just think it's really cool that she got involved that way because it speaks a lot to her as a person to recognize not only the popularity of gaming, but also the audience she's trying to speak to. I think it's just smart. I
Yeah.
think she's a
Also,
smart
just like
woman.
hopefully the way that things are potentially going as well.
Hmm.
Like the future.
The future is female.
I
I
mean,
mean,
if we have our
that's not
way.
wrong. That's not wrong.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so I hope that kind of answers a little bit of your question on gamer culture. I had a
Yeah.
couple more that I wanted to fill you in on. So,
Go hit
you,
me.
so in the vein of streamers, you will have some streamers that you could argue they're sexualizing themselves. You could argue they're being sexualized. There's a very fun case of a streamer. I think her name is Belle Delphine.
I
Um,
know of
and
this woman.
she
I know
and
of this
she
woman that
has
says enough.
she has sold her bathwater online before, and people have bought it. And I think it's kind of incredible that if you can make someone pay for like some water in a jug that you might not even have sat in,
She's a smart lady. She knows
smart
what
gal,
she's doing.
she knows who the audience is, and she's been using that to get what she needs, which is that bill, make
And
the
like if
band,
she can do that and not be creeped out by what
Yeah,
people are like probably doing with it,
yeah,
then
power to her.
and
Honestly,
she's doing it like it's like an alias as well, isn't it? Like she's
I
not
think so.
like
I mean, her face is very visible in a lot of the streaming stuff, so I wouldn't think it's like a thing
uh
of anonymity. Anonymity? That's the word. I wouldn't
anonymity.
say it. I wouldn't say it's that one. Is that how you say it?
I don't know. I just said it really wrong, and
Us not knowing a word.
I tried to
Who would have
correct you,
thought?
and
Who would have
like
thought?
really just like flopped. Sorry,
From the top, make it flop. That's some
DJ.
anonymity.
Blow my speakers up.
So I'd say for the like I classify them as the bathwater gamers. They're very much like that section of society that's like marginalized, predominantly white. Just gonna put it out there because I think that's a big chunk of it. I like to sort of look at them as like the redneck hicks of the gamer world. Like you just kind of go, oh okay, I know what you are. Not for me, thank you. Next up, you have the gamers. So you're putting emphasis on the gay. That would be, I guess, the category that I'd
Uh
fall under. We're the gays,
I
and
thought you
we're
were
into
just saying like the
gaming.
gamers there, and I was like, surely
No,
that's
it's spelled
everyone.
Gaymers.
Love
So you
it.
put the gay in game.
How punny.
Um, it's so punny, so punny it hurts. I like being a gamer. I think it's very fun because you combine a lot of the influences that you're fond of. For me, I'm like I love like the girls of rap, the girls of pop. I love most of what gay people, a little bit of Drag Race, and I think that that all comes together to be very interesting for non-gay people when you play with them because you play a game differently. You're different people, and I think it creates a fun energy when you're not the same as the other people you're playing with. I just like difference. I think some people want to be surrounded by the exact same people all the time, but I like to be surrounded by different personality types because I think that makes everyone feel a little bit more unique. And I don't know if unique's the word I want to use, but you feel like yourself, and you're able to like go alongside other people that might not behave the same way as you do, but you can emphasize your perspective to make it fun for all.
Yeah.
And then like, lastly, you've got the gamer gals. These are the girls that exceed like Belle Delphine. I'm assuming she would be. I don't actually know if she does gaming now that I think about it. I think she does, but she might honestly just be like a TikTok like cosplayer that happens to stream stuff.
I
Anyhow,
don't really
enough
want
about
her in my search
her.
history, if I'm being honest.
No,
Like,
I'm with you. The gamer gals. These are just the women of gaming. They're women who know what is right and they hold like game creators accountable for like I'd say the best example is another one that we mentioned was Tomb Raider.
mhm.
She had like a change in her appearance. Like she had become more modernized and as a result she was also like desexualized in a lot of ways. To make it brief, Lara Croft, like when she first appeared, she was known for giving like a Madonna like cone titty thing because of the graphics available at the time. And as she like changed up, she was always in games with like short shorts and like crop tops, and she was like a jungle gal. I thought it always
Yeah,
made sense because of the climate she was in. She would like change the outfit, and that was for
yeah.
me. Like if she went somewhere cold, she'd dress for the cold. If she was
But I
somewhere
don't think
hot,
you were
she'd
there for
dress.
the saucy lady, were you?
I was there for the saucy lady though. That's the thing. I live for a sexual character who's like owning her sexuality. I love women like in comics, for example. I love Catwoman. She is sex personified, but only for her. It's
Hmm.
never really for the viewer so much. Sometimes the way she's drawn, but I think if you're looking at just who the character is and you boil that down, I like a character who isn't scared of her sexuality
Hmm.
and embraces it in all that she does, but not for. I do like it like when it's not meant for objectification. I just
Yeah.
like a character that knows who she is and wants that. So Lara was one of those characters when she would dress in the earlier games, but they rebooted the series in like I want to say 2017, 2016, maybe around then,
Hmm.
and they made her younger. They gave her like a new sort of storyline as to how she started this journey of the Tomb Raider. And she was dressed like she had a tank top, she had like cargo trousers, and that was what she primarily wore for the whole game. And it was a big change because like two more games came out afterwards, and they kept the same like she was just in these like sort of pedestrian type clothes. Sometimes she would dress like to fit the environment, but it was never you never quite got the short shorts moment again, and that was always even as like a DLC, like so DLC means downloadable content. Like that's the sort of cosmetic item that I would have paid for because that is what I remember fondly from my childhood was playing her in that outfit.
Yeah.
So to not get it created this sort of disconnect for me where I was like, but now you don't feel like the same character I played once upon a time. And
So,
that's mm,
do you
so
think that like within the gaming community, but also it's like the people that play it versus the people that make it, where do you think the objectification,
it
how
comes
does it
from.
lie? Because like, in my head,
Okay.
I think a lot of cartooning and like animation and whatever,
Mm-hmm.
it's often drawing like the perfect, I'm doing air
Mm.
quotes,
Yeah, yeah.
version of what people
Of these.
think
Mm-hmm.
humans should look like. And is there as much sort of misogyny and objectification in the gaming communities as maybe it appears as an outsider?
Yes and no. This is why the gamer cultures was important because I would say you have like most of society is toward like film and whatnot, you will have these like men, women, them, like you'll have people ultimately who will sexualize something because they can. And that
Hmm.
I think exists in every field of reality.
Hmm.
So I'm not gonna like say that. I would say that when it comes down to it, there's probably a little bit more objectification than I would like there to be in gaming. But I think that's why it's
That's
important to represent and, be like a gamer and have like, the gamer gals and like just other like-minded people that don't believe like that.
yeah,
And when it comes to like, especially if we're talking about like the Tomb Raider case, I'd say it's like the feedback received from the game developers is probably from people like the gamer gals, the gamers that are like, hey, we don't need you to sexualize this character. Like, we like the character.
yeah.
Like, do what you need.
We love some
But I
closeted
never
steps.
find. I think it just depends on what your classification of sexualization is.
Yeah.
I, for one, find sexualization to me it's when things are overly emphasized to the point where that cannot be reality, and you're trying to like create a body image issue in some form or another.
Yeah.
Um, and I never got that with Tomb Raider, to be fair. I always just, she was just a really cool, badass woman discovering stuff in tombs, fighting bad guys, monsters. Like, I never thought of her and went, oh, and I like her because she's specifically been sexualized to look like that.
Hmm.
I just liked her because that's how she was presented to me. And I think that's where like, my stance on everything is that what is wrong with being powerful and sexual? And why is
Yeah.
it that we feel the need to hide it? Especially like I get it for PG games, 100%, no place really for it to even have like the slightest like hint of sex. Like that's just, but that's the same for film, You've got
Yeah. It's
kids'
everywhere.
films, and that's the same way that you have kids' games or games that are specifically appropriate for kids but can be enjoyed by many. Because, Nintendo does a great job of that with games like Animal Crossing and Pokemon. Like, these are games that are meant for a younger audience, but they are adaptable and enjoyable to people from older generations.
Hmm.
But yeah, I would say that if I'm playing a game that's like a 15 or an 18 or something and I'm not allowed to explore sexual themes,
Yeah.
well, what's the point? If it fits in with the story, if you're not shoving it down anyone's throat, like use it the same way you'd use it in a narrative. Like I think narrative wise, that's where it all fits. So I would say game models themselves, if someone's creating the model for a character, if you go out of your way to just only create characters that have an hourglass figure or like a big, strong, like muscly man, that's like your two set body types,
Hmm.
there's like an issue there of sexualization because that's what you're doing. But I think that's why people enjoy games that allow customization.
Yeah.
You get
Because,
to pick what goes into your character and how they appear.
and that's like the case in most things, isn't it? Like you can sort
Most
of,
games these days seem to have a customization option. If it's not a case of you're creating a character from scratch for the game, you're able to change your character that you've been given. And I think
yeah.
that's a big part of the experience is like being able to make it a bit of your own whilst following something that's been set out for you.
Yeah. Another thing that I just wanted to ask you about, because you have mentioned,
Uh-huh.
is the whole gamer girl thing.
Yes.
So like gamer girl is a bit of a meme, right?
Kind of in some sense, but I'd say no more than like a gamer guy. Maybe more now that I think about it. Yeah, yeah.
I just sort of like, because I didn't even realize until you said now that
Hmm.
it's like this culture of women that are like, standing their ground and,
Yeah.
doing bits. Like to me, that was like when you said gamer girl, I was like, this is, how people make fun of like teenage girls.
Mm.
that,
I think that's like a common association with the gamer girl is that it matches what it maybe did once upon a time, which was like a girl that was there's a lot of negativity, and I would say this goes for women in general. Anything that a woman shows interest in, there will always be a man that is ready to try and criticize or analyze how much of it she has gathered. It's like when you see like a girl who's wearing like I saw recently a girl wore like a kiss top. Megan Thee Stallion, it was Megan Thee Stallion.
yeah.
So I think she was wearing a kiss top and she put up a picture on Instagram and someone had commented, not to be that guy, but does she even know
Name
who
two
Kiss are?
songs. Yeah.
Yeah, like name two. So it's like women do not have to specify how much knowledge they have on something for you to like validate their existence in that community. And that's why I think gamer girls to me are so cool, because they're openly saying, I know that many of you will probably like be misogynistic toward me. Many of you don't want me in a community. You want to like question how much of this I know. But
Hmm.
I'm standing my ground because I like gaming. It's fun and I want change in gaming. And that's what happened with like Tomb Raider, for example. Like
I
there
love
was a
that.
change there. And I'd say it's only continued on. Like I wouldn't like even games these days, you don't openly get like a lot of sexualized women anymore. It's a variety. You'll see sexualized men, you'll like get a good mix of everything, so it's starting to feel more balanced from at least the developer's side. And as a member of like a community, you see it all in like my favorite character in Apex, she is and I guess if you had to pick one of them that was considered sexualized, it would be her. But I think it's cool. I love playing a strong, powerful woman.
Yeah.
If I want to go in a game and, break away from reality, I want to do something different from day to day. And that's like as different as it can get.
Yeah. No, I'm really like so interested and like I'm glad to hear that
Hmm.
that's like the situation, because my whole perception of like gamer girl it was of the same area as like, girls who like a certain type of music, or they
Hmm.
it's like a trying really hard not to be your average girl. And
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't
different.
understand, like, just because I like something that is like part of a traditionally predominantly male dominated industry.
Hmm.
I think a lot, which is most industries, honestly,
Yeah,
we're
speak it for what it is.
we're working hard to,
You are
you
working
know,
hard, yeah.
diversify, and things are looking up in many ways. In other news, this we're making big change, like, well, we're making some changes towards dismantling the patriarchy.
Hmm.
Scotland becoming, I don't know if
Loving
it's
it.
the first, but yeah,
The
the
first?
first
No, it is the
country
first. We're
to
the first
provide
country.
free sanitary products for all people who menstruate, for public and
In a
public
public,
places. Yeah, because I know like
like in
my
public
uni
settings,
last year
yeah.
started, like,
Which,
they literally had like moon cups and stuff like
yeah, same for me.
up for grabs.
Yeah, just in the bathrooms. Even in the male bathroom, I would like to point out Queen Margaret
Yes.
University. Shout out to you guys, because in the male bathrooms, there were sanitary products available there for people that menstruate, and it felt very heartwarming to go to the
That's
bathroom and
so
see that
good.
that was being provided for,
Ours was just out
those
in
who
the
would
hall,
require
which
it.
was like maybe a bit less, like, it was a bit less fun, because it was like if you had to go and pick up a
Mm.
if you had to go and pick
Ours
up a
in
pad,
every
like they did have
bathroom.
stuff in the bathrooms as well, but like, you know, you're like,
Hmm. Hmm.
you sometimes get caught short. It's a bad time. You're like, oh, a
Of
fun time.
course.
But yeah, in regards to that, we were addressing the whole
Yeah,
situation
like there
of,
have been changes going.
I think we have like an issue of people particularly picking on teenage girls for liking things or having an interest in things, for
Or doing anything.
exploring
Call it for what
their
it is.
interests, for
For
existing. Just
existing. Women are given the hardest time on the planet just for existing, because there's always a man that feels like it's their
yeah, well,
place to
it's also
speak down
just
toward them, and that is why the
like, I think
patriarchy sucks
especially like
ass.
the reason I wanted to speak about the whole gamer girl situation was because like I feel like it's branded
Hmm.
as young girls, young women trying to get attention.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, and there will be some there that use that to their
Yeah, well, that's
advantage,
where
and I say
you
honestly,
get
power to them.
the Belle
Um,
Delphines of the internet that are like embracing
yeah,
it.
of the world, like they know how to they see the world for what it is, and if they want to benefit from it, why should they not be allowed to make that decision? And I think it's choice. If any girl is being forced to be part of like the gamer girl world, like the
Hmm.
labels being forced onto them, and they're being like made into that while they're trying to do something else, I think that's wrong. But if you're comfortable in that setting and you think you can just, laugh at the shit that men are saying towards you, or,
Yeah, of
it
course
could
it
be women
happens.
objectifying women too, could be anyone objectifying this woman. But like it's totally allowed. And another sort of culture I wanted to briefly speak on is the fact that I know a lot of like people who are non-binary, a lot of like trans people online that exist and are very happy to be represented in gaming because it's a
Yeah.
safe space for them as well. I think the thing about gaming is that because so many of us are introverted people these days, especially, it provides an opportunity to see yourself in something where I think other forms of media
Hmm.
they're still falling behind in it. Television and film are not where they need to be fully representing every type of person. It's still
Yeah.
predominantly white casts. It's not a lot of diversity, and then sometimes they just don't handle the topics the way that I think people want them to be handled. Whereas with gaming, a lot of the time decision making, they give options for you to make the decision,
Yeah, you're
you
sort
know?
of in control of your own narrative.
Yeah, and I think it's also just a great way for people to meet like-minded
Hmm.
individuals, to meet people that are like them and, physically, mentally. It's just a great way to establish a community whilst also experiencing content that's made for said community.
Would you say then that gaming and online like interaction through like either gaming platforms or like Discord or whatever,
Hmm.
do you think that has had like a positive impact on your
Oh,
confidence?
for sure. I mean, it's one of those things of the more people that you speak to and the more that you start to learn about other people, I think it just builds up your ability to hold conversation in real life. I
Hmm.
think the only reason that I'm able to exist on a social level is because I've had so much practice of it online. Um,
Yeah.
and in person, I've not just like shoved myself indoors all the time, but
Hmm.
I think it definitely provided a lot of positive effect. Moving on to the next topic, which I've titled as cheaters, rage quitters, and assholes. Oh my. Um, we're going into this topic because these are probably the ones that kind of ruin gaming for a lot. I'd like to come at this topic with my hand to my heart and say that I have at many a points in my life been a rage quitter. I have at many points been far too involved in the game and gotten angry in real life because I've lost. And I may
I
have
mean,
been a
that's
bit of an
been me.
asshole.
That's me on Friv every day.
Totes, though. Like, it's just one of these things where I think that, when you feel like a strong amount of emotional connection to something or you're strongly involved in anything, if it doesn't go your way, you're allowed to get upset. And, there may have been times in my life that I maybe have taken it a bit far. I feel like there's a point where I was like berating a friend over a game. I was like, don't play with me. I don't want to play with you. Screw you. You won. Good job. Whatever. Like, I'm a sore loser and I always have been. I maybe always will be, but I think I'm better at it these days. I'm
Me,
able
like, anytime
to.
I've been bowling, like, if
Oh,
I
but
don't
that's what
win,
it is. It's that
yeah.
whole competitiveness that comes out in the form of gaming. And some people, they solely let themselves be defined by this. And the only like way to feel good is to win. And so if they lose over and over, they will be aggressive. They will start speaking with hate. And
Mhm.
been there, not doing it anymore, but was there once. But then you also have like the cheaters, which these are people that quite literally use their ability of technology. Like they know a lot about technology. They're able to like hack into games and provide ways for like in like a shooting game like Apex, there's constantly cases of people that have hacked the game and are able to like have it so they could aim a gun at someone and it'll directly lock onto that person and they just get like a free win, instead of you having to like use any effort. But
What a sad little life, Jane.
what a sad little life, Jane.
Take your money and go.
You ruined my night so you could get the money. I'd say for the cheaters though, when it comes down to it, there are different types of cheating in a game. I have been a cheater in a game, but that is a game like no, hear me out. That's a game like Minecraft that allows you to cheat per se because they have a creative mode. I've never been a cheater, like I've never rigged the odds in my favor. I've just unlocked like in Minecraft you have to gather everything yourself if you play on survival mode. But then if you go into creative mode, you're able to gather everything just on a menu and it saves you having to go find it all. That's the type of cheating I'm down
So
for.
that's like if you like
Something
need something, you
non-harmful.
can like draw it.
Yeah, kind of. It's just like you need a lot of materials in Minecraft, and so there's like different blocks, there's different objects that you can find, and you have to craft them out of things you find in the world. But if you're able to just look for the item in like a menu and make it appear in your inventory, it saves that whole process. It's very non-harmful, and a lot of people do it to just build things quickly. So
Mhm.
I'd say that's where my cheating comes in. I've never been a cheater. I've never
Yeah.
tried to rig the system because I don't have the knowledge for it. I'll be of it. Like
Quite frankly.
quite frankly, I'm not smart enough to do that. So if you find me cheating, trust it wasn't me. I don't know. I don't know how to do that.
I've been coerced into it. I didn't even know it was happening.
I don't know what's going
I'm
on.
a scapegoat.
I'm a scapegoat. But I'd say like that is like a good overall of what gaming is these days.
Yeah.
I've not really touched on the fact there's a bunch of consoles, like you've said yourself, about PlayStation, there's like Xbox, Google are trying to constantly promote Stadia. I don't know if you've ever seen that ad come up on your YouTube ads, but that comes up a lot for me. But overall, gaming to me, I would just say it has been a lot of things, much like any other media has, and it
Yeah.
continues to evolve. And that's why I'm happy that I like gaming because I get to see new things constantly from my introverted point of view.
It seems like it's like a little community for introverts. And
Totally,
also
but
not introverts, but
yeah, I'd say like you'd find probably the streamer type people, like those are extroverts that
mhm.
are able to hold an audience whilst doing introverted tasks.
And especially like in this day and age as well, it seems like
Yeah.
it's like a way to be social
Oh, it's great. It's like a
when
great
you can't
avenue.
be doing you can't be going and speaking to you can't be in the club toilets giving everyone your lipstick.
No, you can't. So you're gonna have to get online and go chat with a randomer. Just be safe online. That's all I would like to put the message out there.
Oh
Like,
yeah, don't be sending pics.
no, like don't do none of that. Don't make anything public that you wouldn't want public to a
Mhm.
wide variety of people that could use it however they want. I would just say, be careful. I would always advise that you don't really get involved in like the whole like meeting other people and gaming with them until you're of an age that you kind of get the world a bit
Can
more
make
because people can take
educated
advantage.
choices.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like people can take
People can
advantage
and
of
do.
people. They do, and they do that in every aspect of life. So,
Mhm.
I think that gaming has a stigma, especially when I was younger. My mum would not be comfortable if I was speaking with someone like in a game. She just didn't get it. She was like, I don't like you talking to someone from that country that I don't know. Like, I don't know anything about them. I don't know what they're saying to you. And I think that that was just one of those things where I would do it because it was fun and I had a good time playing a game, and then I would get off and leave it then and there. But there's definitely
Yeah.
some people that can let it affect more of their day-to-day life,
Yeah, and
and I wouldn't
there
advise
are
it.
some like horrible stories and you know, it, but at the end of the day, if you're using it responsibly and in an ideal world,
Mm-hmm.
everyone is
Yeah.
also being responsible and being friendly and or
Yeah,
if,
just
like
be
friendly
the change you want to see in
competitiveness
the
is
world.
fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I think that's something that as you grow older, you start to recognize more. No one's ever going to be perfect, so if you just try your best, I think that's when you're ready to get involved in, the
Yeah.
gaming world per se.
Yeah. I mean, I'm
um,
still like I'm not at a place where like I probably like I would go and hop on my little brother's Xbox or whatever,
yeah, I couldn't see that for you to be honest.
but you know like see if I'm at a gaff
Hmm.
maybe one day in the future, you know,
Yeah,
I just like Mario Kart. I like
yeah.
Mario Kart. I like Hannah
There's nothing
Montana
wrong with
dance
that.
game. I like
Yeah.
High School Musical sing along. I
But
remember
that's you're
SingStar.
still
I
being a
love
gamer,
SingStar.
You're still
That
being
was
a gamer that way. I'd like to like say that there's no valid type of gaming, and that's the whole thing with gamer girls, gamer gals, like the objectification and like the trying to see, oh, do you fit like this label?
mhm.
Fuck the label. Do what makes you happy. I'd say that like that's what I always strive for. If I'm not enjoying it, I'm not gonna do it. But if there's only little things that you enjoy in gaming, I know many people that like the only experiences they have with gaming are games like Cooking Mama, like
Love
just
it.
little fun things to just keep yourself busy. Like no one has to be playing every single game in the world to be valid. Just pick what
Yeah.
you like and use gaming as another type of film, TV, music platform, It's just its own entity and you can partake of it as much or as little as you want
Yeah.
and no one can say shit because fuck off otherwise.
Yeah,
to
it's
put it
just
politely.
it's such an interesting form of media because it covers so much. Like, there's not really a form of media that's not involved with it somehow.
And it's probably the newest of most media forms.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of many other ones I'd say are newer, but I mean, streaming itself is very recent. Like, it's only really been happening, since the internet started to support it. So yeah, overall, I'd say it's like a modern media that I enjoy a lot. I hope you enjoy it too. But for those of you who may have been listening, I hope you've enjoyed. And this has been the first of many Teaches series that we will be doing. So please join us again in the future.
I do have information I can share with the world. I'm not that useless, but when it comes to gaming, I am.
Yeah, but that's like, I think this is the nice thing is that when we were discussing making this podcast, the thing that we sat down and said to each other was that we have different interests, and it'd be interesting to learn that from the other. Because you're teaching it not only to me, and I'm not only teaching you right now, but I could be teaching someone else that's listening into this.
Yeah.
So
do you want to give us a little sneak of like other things that you could possibly be teaching us?
So, in the future, I would love to go over a bit of drag. I'd love to talk about the ins and outs. I'm not an experienced drag queen by any means, but, I've dabbled. I've had a little bit of fun. I'm constantly willing to dabble a bit more. But it's one of these things where I love Drag Race, such a fun show to just...
As do I. Love it.
It's such a great experience, and it's very wholesome. Whilst also being extremely dirty, and it's gay culture. It's just funny. Other things I would like to teach, I would like to go over maybe comics at some point. That's like a big one. The comic world is another media type that I love consuming. My whole life is just me consuming different types of media and trying to regurgitate it in my own forms.
Hence the Lifestyle and Creativity podcast.
Exactly. It goes hand in hand with what we like. How about yourself? What series are you going to be treating us to in the future? Because I know we've discussed a couple.
Well, I think I maybe mentioned at some point during this. I don't know if it'll be kept in. I'll be doing a musical theatre number.
Broadway.
Broadway. Different elements of it all. At the moment, I'm exploring writing stuff more. So we'll maybe have a bit of a creative process. Different techniques and stuff thing. Because that's like, I love creative process stuff. It's really interesting to me. I'll probably have some sort of pop music, like maybe like how to go about releasing music. I could do a bit of that.
That'd be fun. I'd love to hear it.
What else do? I don't do much.
You do a lot.
I like to craft. I love to craft.
She's a crafty queen.
And the thing is, again, you don't have to be good at things to enjoy them. So,
but you are, so that's just a positive. It's a bonus.
It's just the benefit. It's a bonus.
It's the benefit. Like, if the thing is that if you put enough time and effort into something, you'll do okay.
Yeah, and in other podcasts, maybe together we'll have a discussion of mindfulness, of that kind of realm, self-care. We love a bit of self-care.
We love a bit of self-care. There's I think we have different approaches to self-care is what I think I've gathered from listening to when you talk about your self-care. But it's interesting to know that we both have our different forms of doing it.
Yeah. But it's all to come in the future, and just keep your seatbelts buckled, be safe, wear your masks, wash your hands. Wear the mask. That is all I could really ask. Dirty cretins.
You dirty girl. Thank you guys so much for joining the first of the Teaches series. We hope you've had a good time. If you haven't, let us know. Maybe we'll do something about it. Maybe we'll say it's our show. You chose to listen. And if you made it to this point, I think you had to have liked it enough. Just remember that it's not always dark at 6 o'clock, and we will see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bonsoir.
Adios.
Adios.
I'm done.